Welcome to Phase 7 of the Meet Ventures EIR Startup Curriculum, Team, Culture, and Organization Design. In this masterclass, we confront the defining operational question of scaling ventures. Who do we need beside us, and how do we work together? Having validated your go-to-market channels, growth sprints, and pirate metrics in Phase 6, we now focus on dividing executive leadership into single-threaded swim lanes, screening high-trajectory talent for your first 10 hires, establishing cultural operating values, and structuring Founder Institute fast advisory governance before raising institutional venture capital. Let us locate Phase 7 within the broader 10-phase venture acceleration lifecycle. In Phase 1, you audited founder readiness and operational cadence. In Phase 2, you validated customer problems and willingness to pay. In Phase 3, you executed market segmentation and selected your beachhead. In Phase 4, you engineered your value proposition and proved retention-based product-market fit. In Phase 5, you validated your business model canvas and unit economics. In Phase 6, you optimized acquisition channels and growth funnels. Now, in Phase 7, our active phase, we focus on co-founder swim lanes, trajectory hiring, operating values, and advisory fast trees. This organizational structure prepares your company for Phase 8 fundraising and legal, Phase 9 storytelling and pitching, and Phase 10 metrics and post-PMF scaling. Here is our executive summary of the 4 foundational modules you must master during Phase 7. In Module 1, Co-founder roles and equity, we establish single-threaded decision rights across product, GTM, and operations while enforcing 4-year vesting schedules. In Module 2, hiring hires 1 through 10, we screen candidates for high learning trajectory and intrinsic agency using paid work sample auditions and ESOP equity bands. In Module 3, cultural operating values, we codify founder behavior under pressure into actionable operating filters, radical candor, and blameless retrospectives. In Module 4, advisory fast governance, we structure high-leverage advisory boards using Founder Institute fast agreements with 3-month performance cliffs. Let us begin Module 1, Co-founder governance, swim lanes, and equity mechanics. Co-founder conflict and misaligned decision rights represent the #1 cause of early-stage startup mortality. Many founding teams fall into the consensus paralysis trap, requiring unanimous co-founder approval on every minor product tweak or sales strategy, which stalls execution velocity and generates internal resentment. Instead, we implement single-threaded ownership, designating one specific co-founder with ultimate tie-breaking authority per functional domain to maximize operational speed. We structure executive leadership into 3 explicit operational swim lanes. First, the Chief Executive Officer and Commercial Lead. The CEO's primary mandate encompasses capital allocation, investor relations, corporate narrative, fundraising, and closing initial enterprise sales, evaluated by cash runway extension and new ARR. Second, the Chief Technology Officer and Product Lead. The CTO's mandate covers software architecture, code deployment velocity, infrastructure scalability, platform security, and engineering hiring, evaluated by sprint velocity and uptime SLAs. Third, the Chief Operating Officer and Operations Lead. The COO's mandate covers customer onboarding, financial accounting, legal compliance, HR workflows, and vendor logistics, evaluated by gross margin percentage and time to value compression. Eliminate organizational ambiguity by implementing an executive RACI matrix across critical venture milestones. For product roadmap and tech stack decisions, the lead engineer is responsible, the CTO is accountable, the CEO and customers are consulted, and the entire team is informed. For fundraising and term sheet execution, the finance lead is responsible, the CEO is accountable, the board and legal are consulted, and the executive team is informed. For sales pricing and contract terms, the sales rep is responsible, the CEO is accountable, product is consulted, and operations is informed. For key hires and ESOP grants, the hiring manager is responsible, the COO and CEO are accountable, peers are consulted, and the candidate is informed. Negotiating equal equity splits in 10 minutes creates immense cap table risk. Reject the naive 50-50 default. Splitting equity evenly upfront to avoid uncomfortable conversations leads to disaster when one founder works 80 hours a week while another operates part-time. A departing founder who retains half the equity creates dead equity, rendering the startup unfundable for institutional VCs. Instead, implement a contribution-weighted model. Allocate equity based on objective inputs, including IP creation, cash invested, domain network access, and full-time commitment. Remember, ideas are worth 5%. Execution velocity over the next 4 years is worth 95%. To protect the company from premature departures, standard vesting is mandatory. We enforce the institutional 4-year vesting schedule with a 1-year cliff. During months 0 through 12, 0 equity vests. At month 12, exactly 25% vests in a lump sum, and over months 13 through 48, the remaining 75% vests monthly in equal 1/48th increments. If a founder leaves at month 11, they leave with 0 shares. Furthermore, mandate double trigger acceleration, where equity accelerates only if the company is acquired and the founder is terminated without cause within 12 months. Rejecting single trigger acceleration that alienates incoming acquirers. Before incorporating the entity, every co-founding team must answer 5 non-negotiable questions from the Techstars playbook. Question 1. What is your minimum personal cash runway requirement, and how many months can you survive on 0 salary? Question 2. Are you willing to relocate to a Tier 1 tech hub if required for venture scaling? Question 3. What is your target exit ambition? A $20 million M&A acquisition or a 10-year journey to an IPO? Question 4. What specific behaviors constitute underperformance, and how do we legally terminate a co-founder? Question 5. Has all pre-existing software code and IP been assigned 100% to the corporate entity? Structure legal exit ramps before interpersonal relationships experience stress. Under bad leaver terms, termination for gross negligence, willful misconduct, or fraud triggers the company's right to repurchase all vested and unvested stock at nominal par value. Under good leaver terms, departure due to health emergencies or mutual amicable agreement allows the departing founder to retain vested stock, subject to the company's right of first refusal upon sale. For tiebreaker protocols, designate an independent, mutually respected lead investor or advisory board member to hold a binding vote during governance deadlocks. Never leave co-founder role boundaries or cap table expectations verbal. Conduct structured alignment war rooms to document functional swim lanes, milestones, and equity splits on the whiteboard before incorporating. Map out your target ARR, milestone commitments, engineering deliverables, and ESOP pool allocations. Remember our executive governance rule. Formal governance is not an expression of distrust. It is institutional insurance protecting the startup's future. Complete the Module 1 governance gate before hiring early employees. First, are co-founder swim lanes divided into single-threaded CEO, CTO, and COO RACI matrices? Second, is 100% of founder stock subject to a 4-year vesting schedule with a 1-year cliff? Third, have all co-founders executed complete IP assignment agreements transferring all assets to the corporate entity? Fourth, is a double trigger acceleration clause included in all founder stock purchase agreements? Welcome to Module 2, Building the Core Team, Hires 1 through 10. Your first 10 hires establish 90% of your company's operating culture and long-term execution velocity. In this module, we explore how to screen for high learning trajectory over static pedigree, execute 4-step paid work sample auditions, sequence generalists versus specialists, and structure competitive cash salary and ESOP option pool compensation bands. Early employees act as cultural DNA setters. Hires 1 through 10 establish your company's baseline standards for work ethic, code architecture, customer empathy, and problem-solving velocity. As the institutional rule states, A players hire A players, and a single mediocre early hire lowers the hiring bar for the entire organization. A bad early hire burns 6 months of cash runway, creates negative team friction, and consumes 50% of founder management time. Hire carefully, evaluate thoroughly, and manage underperformance quickly. In early-stage startups, high agency generalists consistently outperform corporate big tech resumes. Candidates with static pedigree are accustomed to large brand resources, specialized support departments, and rigid corporate playbooks. They often struggle with extreme ambiguity and shifting priorities. Conversely, high trajectory candidates possess a steep learning slope, intrinsic agency, and high adaptability. They figure out solutions unassisted when no operational playbook exists, demonstrating rapid execution speed and high growth potential. Sequence your hiring profiles according to your venture's evolution stage. For hires 1 through 5, in the pre-PMF phase, hire full-stack generalists. These operators can wear multiple hats simultaneously, such as a full-stack software engineer who writes front-end code, drafts technical documentation, and answers customer support calls. For hires 6 through 20 and beyond, in the post-PMF scaling phase, hire functional specialists. These professionals execute one specific discipline with world-class efficiency, such as a dedicated DevOps architect, an enterprise account executive, or a paid performance growth marketer. Posting on public job boards yields low signal-to-noise ratios for early hires. Instead, drive founder-led outbound sourcing across 3 primary channels. Channel 1, direct network and alumni. Reach out directly to high-performing former colleagues and engineering peers who have witnessed your work ethic firsthand. Channel 2, open source and builder communities. Identify active contributors on GitHub, technical Discord channels, and specialized Slack groups who are actively building and shipping code. Channel 3, accelerator talent portals. Leverage Meet Ventures, Techstars, and YC candidate networks to connect with pre-vetted operators seeking early-stage startup roles. Replace artificial whiteboard brain teasers with our 4-step paid work sample audition process. Step 1, screening call. A 30-minute alignment on intrinsic agency, career trajectory, and compensation expectations. Step 2, deep dive review. The candidate presents a complex project they built from scratch, detailing architectural decisions. Step 3, paid work task. A 4-hour paid task solving an actual company bug, product user flow, or copywriting brief. Step 4, pairing session. A 60-minute live pair programming or strategy session evaluating how well the candidate receives feedback. Balance below-market cash compensation with meaningful ESOP equity grants using our compensation matrix. For a founding lead engineer, hires 1 to 2, target 60% to 80% market cash salary with a 1.0% to 3.5% ESOP grant on 4-year vesting, aligned around product delivery and core architecture. For a senior core engineer, hires 3 to 5, target 70% to 85% market cash salary with 0.5% to 1.5% equity, focused on sprint velocity. For your first GTM and growth lead, hires 4 to 6, target 70% market salary plus sales commission with 0.5% to 1.25% equity, driving pipeline conversion. For generalist operations, hires 7 to 10, target 75% to 90% market salary with 0.25% to 0.5% equity, managing customer onboarding efficiency. Design your developer onboarding so new engineering hires push code to production on their very first day. Setting a high-velocity baseline immediately integrates new operators into your high-performance culture. Eliminate administrative downtime. Configure sandbox environments, grant repository access, and assign a small starter bug fix prior to day 1. Remember our execution rule. High-performing engineers want to ship software, not spend weeks reading static documentation. Verify your hiring pipeline against the Module 2 readiness gate. First, have you formally reserved a 10% to 15% employee stock option pool on your cap table? Second, are all candidate assessments conducted via paid 4-hour real-work sample audition tasks? Third, are all employment offer letters structured with standard 4-year vesting schedules and 1-year cliffs? Fourth, is your interview evaluation scorecard prioritizing learning trajectory and intrinsic agency over static corporate resumes? Welcome to Module 3, Building culture early. Cultural operating systems. Behavior under pressure. Company culture is not a list of slogans painted on an office wall, catered lunches, or ping pong tables. Culture is how founders and teams behave during an operational crisis. In this module, we translate values into actionable decision filters, implement radical candor and blameless retrospectives, synchronize team meeting tempos, and establish a 30-day performance management framework. Company culture is defined by what founders tolerate, reward, and penalize during high-stress situations. As our core definition states, culture is how your team makes trade-off decisions when founders are not in the room. The true culture of your startup equals the worst behavior the founders are willing to tolerate. Beware of the high-performer toxicity hazard. Tolerating a brilliant software engineer or top-performing sales rep who exhibits toxic, non-collaborative behavior destroys team psychological safety and proves that company values are empty words. Transform generic corporate slogans into concrete operational trade-off filters. Instead of excellence, adopt bias for action over consensus, the rule being to ship a working 80% solution today rather than debate for 2 weeks. Instead of integrity, adopt radical transparency with bad news, the rule being to surface metric misses and software bugs immediately without fear of penalty. Instead of innovation, adopt frugal resourcefulness first, the rule being to solve operational bottlenecks with automation before requesting cash budget. Instead of teamwork, adopt disagree rigorously, commit 100%. The rule being to debate during planning and execute with complete alignment once decided. Implement Kim Scott's radical candor framework. Care personally while challenging directly. Deliver feedback on work output immediately, praising wins publicly and critiquing misses privately, focusing on objective data rather than personal identity. When a server outage, lost deal, or failed marketing campaign occurs, conduct blameless retrospectives. Audit systemic process failures rather than assigning personal blame, asking, why did our testing pipeline fail to catch this regression, instead of who broke the production build. Synchronize your organizational tempo through structured meeting rhythms. Daily, run a 10-minute stand-up answering what shipped yesterday, what ships today, what is blocked. Weekly, conduct Monday sprint planning to set North Star metric goals, followed by Friday retrospectives and product demos. Monthly, host an all-hands meeting reviewing ARR, gross margins, cash burn, remaining runway, and team OKRs. Quarterly, run a strategic offsite to recalibrate product roadmaps, resource allocations, and hiring plans. Protect deep execution time by establishing a documentation-first, asynchronous communication culture. Enforce the right before meeting rule. No strategic meeting is scheduled without circulating a one-page decision memo 24 hours in advance, outlining the problem, options considered, data analysis, and proposed recommendation. Default to public communication channels. Banish private one-on-one Slack messages for project work to preserve institutional knowledge and maintain team situational awareness. Address performance mismatches swiftly, objectively, and humanely using our 30-day performance improvement plan framework. Day 0, explicit metrics warning. Document specific performance gaps, required numerical targets, and the 30-day timeline in writing. Day 15, midpoint checkpoint. Conduct a formal review auditing metric progress, providing clear feedback on trajectory. Day 30, binary decision. Full metric recovery or immediate respectful departure with fair severance. Avoid dragging out underperformance. Conduct weekly Friday retrospectives to reinforce psychological safety and continuous learning. Review weekly sprint output on glassboards or digital trackers. Actively celebrate failed growth experiments that yielded clear customer insights just as loudly as major feature releases. Remember our culture rule. Transparency is not merely broadcasting victories, it is openly analyzing mistakes to prevent repeat operational errors. Complete the Module 3 Cultural Operating System Gate. First, are your company operating values written as actionable trade-off decision filters? Second, is your weekly meeting cadence locked around Monday goal setting and Friday retrospectives? Third, do you enforce a documentation-first culture requiring written one-page decision memos before strategic meetings? Fourth, are employee performance issues addressed within a strict 30-day framework? Welcome to Module 4, Advisors, Mentors, and Boards, External Governance, Advisors, Mentors, and Fast Trees. External advisors should accelerate your product roadmap and enterprise pipeline, not clutter your cap table with dead equity. In this module, we establish a clear taxonomy across mentors, formal advisors, and board directors, implement the Founder Institute FAST Agreement Framework, and design a 5-part monthly update cadence. Distinguish informal advisory support from legally binding corporate governance. Informal mentors require no legal contract and receive zero equity, providing ad hoc guidance, coffee check-ins, and moral support. Formal advisors sign a standardized FAST agreement, receiving 0.1% to 0.5% equity on a 2-year vesting schedule in exchange for specific monthly deliverables and enterprise customer introductions. Board directors hold fiduciary board seats, receiving standard director stock, responsible for corporate governance, hiring and firing the CEO, and approving major financings or M&A transactions. We mandate the Global Founder Institute FAST Framework for all advisory appointments. The FAST Framework incorporates 3 essential provisions. First, a 2-year vesting schedule with equity vesting monthly over 24 months. Second, a 3-month performance cliff. 0 equity vests for the first 90 days. If an advisor becomes unresponsive, terminate the agreement with 0 equity dilution. Third, an explicit scope of work outlining mandatory monthly advisory calls and at least 2 warm enterprise introductions per quarter. Avoid the handshake equity trap of granting unvested stock on informal promises. Utilize standardized FAST equity allocation benchmarks based on venture stage and engagement level. At the idea concept stage, standard engagement for monthly calls is 0.20% equity. Strategic engagement for biweekly calls and introductions is 0.50%. And expert partner engagement for weekly sprints is 1.00%. At the pre-seed/seed stage, standard engagement is 0.10%, strategic engagement is 0.25%, and expert partner engagement is 0.50%. At the Series A growth stage, standard engagement is 0.05%, strategic engagement is 0.10%, and expert partner engagement is 0.20%. Maximize advisor ROI by applying 3 rules of engagement. Rule 1, assign specific domains. Never hire general advisors. Assign 1 advisor specifically to enterprise sales, 1 to InfoSec compliance, and 1 to regulatory affairs. Rule 2, provide forwardable blurbs. When requesting customer introductions, provide pre-drafted 1-paragraph emails that advisors can forward to executive contacts in seconds. Rule 3, time box monthly calls. Circulate a bulleted agenda 24 hours in advance and focus call time entirely on resolving strategic roadblocks. Build long-term investor and advisor trust through structured monthly communication sent on the 1st of every month. Section 1, Scorecard. Document cash and bank, monthly burn rate, runway date, ARR, and MRR. Section 2, Highlights. Detail top product features shipped and closed enterprise customer contracts. Section 3, Lowlights. Honestly disclose lost pipeline deals, technical bugs, and missed metric targets. Section 4, Financials. Review gross margins, month-over-month growth rate, and CAC payback. Section 5, Direct Asks. Request 3 specific named customer introductions or key hiring referrals. Run advisor strategy sessions with operational discipline. Never ask advisors open-ended questions like, "What should I do?" Instead, present 2 concrete operational options supported by data, state your recommended decision, and ask, "What strategic blind spots am I missing?" Remember our advisory governance rule. Advisors provide pattern recognition from past market cycles. The founders own ultimate execution and accountability. Complete the Module 4 Advisory Governance Gate before initiating fundraising. First, are all formal advisors signed to standardized FAST agreements with 2-year vesting and 3-month performance cliffs? Second, is total advisory pool equity dilution capped below 2.5% on your cap table? Third, are you sending structured 5-part monthly updates on the first of every month? Fourth, does every update contain explicit, pre-drafted customer introduction requests? We now bridge from organization design to venture capitalization. In Phase 7, you divided co-founder leadership, hired core operators for hires 1 through 10, codified cultural operating values, and secured an advisory bench. However, an aligned team cannot scale without institutional equity capital. In Phase 8, fundraising, legal, and financial foundations, we address how much capital do we need, and is the business legally built to receive and deploy it? Here is your executive preview of Phase 8. In our next masterclass, we will construct bottom-up financial models to calculate 18 to 24-month cash runway, burn multiples, and hiring capital requirements, structure Delaware C Corp corporate entities, 83B tax elections, and Y Combinator post-money safe instruments, and deconstruct term sheet negotiations covering valuation caps, liquidation preferences, pro rata rights, and option pool shuffles. During Phase 8, your team will build 3 core capitalization artifacts. First, a cap table financial model, a 3-statement bottom-up model detailing 24-month runway projections and funding round dilution. Second, an institutional diligence data room containing corporate charters, IP assignments, and customer contracts. Third, executed investment documents, closing safes or term sheets with angel investors and seed funds. Let us review the executive summary of Phase 7. In Module 1, you established single-threaded CEO, CTO, and COO swim lanes with 4-year vesting schedules. In Module 2, you structured paid work sample auditions and a 10 to 15% ESOP option pool for hires 1 through 10. In Module 3, you codified operating values as decision filters, radical candor, and blameless retrospectives. In Module 4, you structured an advisory bench using FAST agreements with 3-month cliffs. Complete the pre-Phase 8 exit gate before advancing. Confirm that co-founder agreements are signed with 4-year vesting and 1-year cliffs. Standardized paid work sample tasks are built for active hiring. The weekly operating rhythm is locked with Monday planning and Friday retrospectives, and formal FAST advisory contracts are executed with 3-month performance cliffs. To officially complete Phase 7 and unlock Phase 8 on fundraising, legal, and financial foundations, navigate to your student dashboard on the Meet Ventures LMS platform and complete the 5-question Phase 7 knowledge check quiz. Passing this quiz confirms your mastery of co-founder governance, hiring architecture, and advisory structures, granting immediate access to Phase 8. Phase 7 is complete. Organization built. Remember our guiding organizational principle: A players hire A players. Divide executive leadership into single-threaded swim lanes, screen early hires for steep learning trajectories, and build an unassailable cultural operating system. We look forward to seeing you in Phase 8 for fundraising, legal, and financial foundations. Thank you, and let's keep building.